I've got another theory of why you came back in the industry so quickly from the Ridgeways thing. I think you realise one day, hang on a minute, I'm going to be home with teenage kids. I need to find something better to do.
Well, I won't lie to you. The old story is Mrs. O'Hanlon looked at me and said, one of us is going out to work full time, and my feet scurried out the door as quickly as they could. I think, it was the right time for my chairman to sell at Ridgeway. It wasn't the right time for me. I still had lots of work to do. I was 48. I had a great level of contacts, and I wanted to do more. So that was a driving force about coming back in. A lot of people worried, said, "Well, you're used to running a big business." We started Ridgeway. First year was 13 million, 2 sites. So it didn't frighten me having to get, and you do have to get your hands dirty in that size and scale of business. But I enjoyed that. I enjoy where we are now. And with the scale of the business means that we can invest, we can take on the challenges and actually, use some of that accumulated experience and my, the understanding of what we do to take on the new challenges.
Hi and welcome to this AM News Show podcast, the latest in a series of monthly podcast shows on the automotive retail sector. I'm Tom Sharp, News and Features Editor from AM Magazine and AM Online, and I'm joined by my colleague Tim Rose, who's Editor of Automotive Management. Our guest today is John O'Hanlon, the Chief Executive of AM award-winning franchise car retail group Waylands Automotive. Hi there, John. How are you doing?
Hi. Morning, Tom. Morning, Tim.
Morning.
Good to see you. It doesn't seem that long since we were at the AM Awards, to be fair. Lots to celebrate again for your group.
It was a fantastic night, and it was lovely. I received so many comments and little notes of congratulation, but it really was, testament to all the hard work being done by the teams. To do it once is great, to do it twice is a trick. So really, really chuffed, to tell you the truth. I'll
apologise again now because I collared you on the night and I think you were probably heading to the bar like everyone is after that big team picture.
Well, it was close on midnight, which is never the best time to be doing those sort of interviews.
No, I agree. I am one of those people wanting to head to the bar as well, John. Absolutely.
But it was a great evening. It was just lovely seeing so many friends and colleagues in the industry, and it was the first real proper gathering. So now, absolutely, I adored the evening.
Great stuff. And every time you come to an automotive management event, you've got something else to share, a new business added on. So tell us about how you've grown, perhaps in the last 12 months, when some others have perhaps been winding back a little bit and entrenching. You've been out there growing the business.
And critically as well, been growing the business with brands that are absolutely going somewhere.
And I think that's always been important, that we grow the business as the business can sustain it. And that's been our mantra in previous businesses, but also within Waylands. So we set up the business, we get it right, we grow the business. And we did that originally around Volvo, and Volvo is still the beating heart of Waylands. But in the last 12 months, we have grown the business with 3 separate opportunities. So back in February, we took on Kia, and, Kia and the management team I've known for a long time and had conversations with for a long time, even back to the Ridgeway days. So I know the team, liked the team, and the opportunity and Reading came up, and we were really, really delighted that we managed to make the magic happen and get it over a line. And it's been an absolutely phenomenal addition. It's making good money. We've had to do a little bit of work round about the property, round about the team, but we're in really, really great shape, and it's certainly contributing to the overall group significantly. We then had MG came and joined the stable, and again, like Kia, I think, Tim, you've absolutely nailed it. These are brands that have set their stall out, are growing quickly, but are growing in the right way, with the right sort of product. So how important I see electric vehicles are to the future of franchise dealers, and that's where both Volvo We were talking earlier about the Recharge and their hybrid strategy, but Kia with their EV6 and e-Niro and MG now really driving on what we should be. So with premium with Volvo, premium volume with Kia, and with a strong volume offering from MG, we're well positioned. And then I guess the final part is growing more with Volvo. We took on Bristol, which is an absolutely phenomenal opportunity. It's 50% bigger than our biggest territory, and really, if we can unlock that, we've got a winner. So we've got a new team down there that we're bringing into the Waylands family. It's a new territory, so we're learning quickly about the area. But so far, so good. The last couple of weeks, Bristol's numbers have been the strongest in the group. So really pleased with that. And again, it ticks our boxes in terms of being a contiguous territory with a brand we know that will allow us to continue to grow the Waylands footprint.
We've said that the brands that you've gone with are extremely strong, and I guess public awareness of those brands pushing on is quite high. But you're establishing new businesses in new territories all the same. Is it a challenge to get those businesses off the ground in terms of customer database and things like that?
Yeah.
How much of a challenge has that been for Waylands throughout its growth?
We've had that since day one of the business. When we took on Reading, it had a very limited retail database, and we've had to grow it. So I think what we've been able to do, there have been new territories in some places, but we've been able to work with a team that understands what works, what makes us successful, and that is the secret to what we do on the way through. In terms of the brands, I've tried my absolute damnedest to pick brands that I believe are winners and the market's coming to them. So having a strong EV offering is critical to me, and you can see that the work I've done to actually try and create an offering that we can now supply to everyone within our territories, but also having management teams that I can work with, and that's really important to me. I want to work with people in the brands that I know and trust, and that's that is absolutely where we need, because there's so much change coming through. And whether we talk about some of the disruptors, whether we talk about digital, even how franchise dealers are rewarded, I want to know that there's the team I'm working with, the brand I'm working with, I can trust and will want to have a successful dealer presence, because we need strong manufacturers, and strong manufacturers need strong dealer networks.
Do you think some of the changes that may be ahead, the electrification potential of kind of agency models and that, is that driving some people within the business, perhaps with smaller businesses, to really kind of reconsider their options and look to exit at the moment? Are we likely to see more acquisitions happening in the next few years?
The concept of scale is not new, and this is just another challenge that might speed it up slightly. I think the bigger businesses will get bigger, and I think it will be much harder for smaller businesses to make the investments that you've got to make. You do need rooftops to spread it across. You can't just keep investing with one or two sites, the same as some of the bigger PLCs and groups that have got hundreds of sites. So I think that is absolutely inevitable, that you'll get more acquisitions and the big will get bigger. And that's why you've seen Waylands work really hard to get a footprint, to get a level of scale as quickly as it could on the way through. So I don't think that changes. It's been happening and it will continue to happen, and I don't see any reason why it wouldn't.
Are you happy with the balance of business between, I don't think anyone is at the moment particularly, but then again the profits are coming in, new and used, that I think I've spoken to you before about the challenge of getting stock into the business, used stock in particular. So how is Waylands balancing that, and where do you find yourselves now going into winter?
I think part of the benefit of being a smaller regional group is you can be that little bit closer to what is actually happening in and around the market. So, I think one of the areas I can say that we were good at is, as we came from furlough, we understood there was still a level of customer demand. So we were able to get more of our staff back from furlough much quicker. Much quicker. So we could accelerate, during 2020, we were still able to demonstrate growth in terms of turnover, but also in terms of the bottom line. So I think actually having the ability to be close to the business allows you to make more decisions, maybe a little bit quicker than some of the bigger boys. So after all that speech on scale, I think there is a benefit of being a small regional group. So we worked hard round about making sure that we didn't stop. We didn't look at the problems. We looked at the opportunities. So if we can't sell you a car today, then absolutely we'll get you a factory order. And it's actually the mindset changing from we can't get the car in a month. That's not bad news. The fact we've got a forward order, let's take it. On used cars, I think it was understanding as quickly as we could. The fact that pricing was moving up. But if you understand the new dynamic, then you can understand how that's going to affect what our bread and butter, that 1 to 3, 1 to 5 year old car, the prices aren't going to come down because we don't have many more. And in fact, we saw the biggest increase in September. We've seen a record increase for October, albeit much smaller, but it doesn't matter. It's still moving in the same direction. So I think we've got to be cognizant, we've got to be careful, and then we've just got to be able to adjust. So are we willing to pay more? Yes, we are. Have we looked at different methods of sourcing? Yes, we do. Some of that comes with its own problems. So if you're buying privately, then you've just got to be aware that you are buyer beware, caveat emptor does exist, and you'll probably have to spend a little bit more on those cars. But that's the ability. If you're close enough, you're asking the right questions, you're doing the right checks, then you should be able to do that. So I think having that, and also having the presence to actually say, no, we don't have to sell every car because we haven't sold one. There was a bit of nervousness, and there was a couple of weeks ago, there was suddenly a little bit of nervousness came into the business because there was a little movement at the auctions. But it's having the ability and the capability to say, no, we know where we're going, and the only thing I can see changing it in the short to medium is customer shock, another lockdown, and that doesn't seem to be on the cards. So it's getting that message out and continue to be consistent with that message, but then understanding what could change. So I think that's been the benefit. I don't mind what I sell my customers, whether it's a new or a used. I just want to sell them a car and sell it with a service plan so that they do come back to me to get the after sales work done on it, because then I'll sell them the next car. And that's where we focus a lot of our time and attention.
How's that challenge been of keeping customers abreast of when the car's going to be delivered? I guess there's a huge amount of work going into just keeping people informed.
Initially, it was quite hard because customers didn't believe us. Yeah, there wasn't really an understanding of the fact that manufacturers just can't make cars. Do you not want to sell cars? Well, it's not that we don't want to sell, but I think as it's become more into the press, I think people are beginning to understand a little bit more that there are problems. And those problems means that if you do want a car, then you do want to be ordering the car and then understanding when it's going to arrive. And of course, that's got bumps, and I won't often say this, but I do have a lot of sympathy for the manufacturers. It is something that's hit them sideways, and especially for the NSOs, who are relying on the factory telling them so that they can tell us. I think it must have been tough, but we are relying on as much transparency as possible. We can deal with bad news, and we can relate that to our customers. We just need to know as much as possible on the way through. So I think it's been a challenge, but it's just upping your game round about that contact strategy, all the way through. And if there is a problem, let the customer know as early as possible and tell them. Don't say, well, I can't tell you when. That just spreads distrust and anxiety. So just tell them what you know as best you can. And I hate to say honesty is the best policy. Yeah. Sort of, You've got to be really good to do it the other way. And it's just sometimes the easy way through.
Has it put any increased onus on the finance companies? Because people now can't leave it too late in their PCP if they're going to change into another car, I guess, because of, as you're saying, in terms of the forward orders. So where in the past dealers would potentially try to turn customers early because they had stock available, actually now you need to be speaking to the customers anyway to make sure there is stock when they're going to need it.
But the joy is we can have a really positive conversation with those customers because of the value of their cars. So we're actually being able to have a conversation earlier with a lot of our customers simply because they've got equity. And you know the stories as well as I do. Customers are pleasantly surprised at what we're able to offer them. And of course, we're contacting them to actually try and start making that magic happen a little bit earlier, absolutely, because we are looking 3-4 months. We don't seem to be, apart from certain models, much longer lead times at the moment. But I was reading in the paper today about magnesium could be a problem for steel makers, and suddenly it's another little bump in the road for those brands that they have to deal with. These are big efficient factories that are not meant to be taking stuff off to put it back on. They want it to be smooth and smoother.
You said to us a little earlier on that you're in a position where you could have walked away and you decided to come back and build something. I just wonder, after the last sort of 18 months, the challenges that we've had and continue to have, you've managed to press on. Are you enjoying it, John?
Yeah.
You seem like a man who's enjoying it.
I won't lie to you. There was a couple of moments in March where I did have my head in my hands. You sort of think this wasn't what we signed up to, but then you remember where we were in 2008. Where we were drawing up plans A, B, and C, and then you saw that the help and assistance that we did get, and that was significant. But I'm looking at our September numbers, and we've grown the business by 37%. Like for like, our turnover is up 18%. Now, some of that is not down to we're selling lots of extra cars, like for like. It's the fact that values have gone up so much, but we're retaining more money on every part of the business. We're making more money on new cars, despite selling less. We're making lots more money on used cars, and that's the market helping us. But also in sale and after sales, service and parts. We're growing the business by doing those basics incredibly well. And the business is establishing itself, which is the other joy of it. When you go from, November 2017 saying, I want to turn over 100 million in 5 years. Well, we did it. We did it in September. The business got to the 100 million. We talked about getting to a 2 million balance sheet, and we did that in March. So the business is fulfilling my wants and ambitions, and that's phenomenal. And I'm looking at the team, and that's the other part. I do it for the camaraderie. I do it. It's not always about that final pound, believe it or not, despite the accountant in me. I do it because I enjoy doing it. I love working with the teams that we work with. I love the guys and the girls that are around about us. And I love making sure that they'll be able to do more with us than they could do anywhere else. So that's all part of it. So yeah, it's a very long way of saying yeah. I do enjoy it.
No, the automotive retail sector sort of transformed headwinds into tailwinds, and there's part of it that you ride in the market, but there can't have been a more rewarding period, can there, coming out of this?
No, and that is fair in terms of the pound, but also in terms of the intellectual challenge, and that's where it can be incredibly frustrating, but it's actually knowing that you can make a difference. We hear about disruptors, and actually the joy of some of the disruptors is they've raised our gaze, they've raised our eye line. What should we be doing? Why shouldn't we be able to deliver, images? Why can't we do a digital process, soup to nuts? This is slick. And those are all the challenges that we're facing in. Because if we can do that, and at the same time, actually have a fantastic feeling when you walk into a Waylands dealership, then we've got a winner. But it's actually making that culture within the business. And yeah, it's still doing some of those little mom and pop things. We've just got our Waylands Way, our little magazine is arriving.
In print?
In print. and I want them to go home and I want them to look. So we've got all the new staff from Bristol and MG are in there with a little, the same old questions that you'd always expect. And it is a little bit folksy, but actually it is important, that we do. And we've started, so we still use the staff surveys. Our employee experience is still really strong when you look at our engagement scores, which is fantastic, despite some of the challenges that we've had. And we're now getting to a size where we can begin to do some of the benefits and the packages. So I think it feels like we're in good shape. It feels like we can do more, but we've got to do that at the right time. So we'll get the new businesses settled in. And we talk about dominating, and that's what I want to do. Whatever segment we're involved in, I want to dominate it for the brands I represent. So that's where we're working really, really hard at the moment, getting those new brands, those new locations out there as much as we can.
I've got another theory of why you came back in the industry so quickly from the Ridgeways thing. I think you realise one day, hang on a minute, I'm going to be home with teenage kids. I need to find something better to do.
Well, I won't lie to you. The old story is Mrs. O'Hanlon looked at me and said, one of us is going out to work full time, and my feet scurried out the door as quickly as they could. I think, it was the right time for my chairman to sell at Ridgeway. It wasn't the right time for me. I still had lots of work to do. I was 48. I had a great level of contacts, and I wanted to do more. So that was a driving force about coming back in. A lot of people worried, say, "Well, you're used to running a big business." We started Ridgeway. First year was 13 million, 2 sites. So it didn't frighten me having to get, and you do have to get your hands dirty in that size and scale of business. But I enjoyed that. I enjoy where we are now. And with the scale of the business means that we can invest, we can take on the challenges and actually, use some of that accumulated experience and the understanding of what we do to take on the new challenges.
That's my next question occurred to me is what learning from the Ridgeway expansion, Ridgeway growth, are you able to put into place for the future of Waylands?
Well, I think a lot of the DNA is very similar. If you look at our vision, you look at our values, I hate to say it, they are incredibly similar. They've been gently tweaked. I guess biggest lesson is make sure you've got the appropriate management team in for the growth. Early days in Ridgeway, it did seem to surprise us when we took on, and that just put a lot of strain and stress and a couple of little wobbles behind you. So if you look at how we've restructured Waylands in the last sort of 6 months, we've now got, we've got the board, but we've now got a head of team. So head of sales, Dominic, who you had on your general managers forum. We've got Paul Lambert, who's head of digital sales. And again, it's an area that he is passionate around. He understands, and actually we need someone who can take on that focus. So he runs our digital sales team, so doing everything, all the customer interactions on a digital basis. And then we've got our head of marketing, April, who was employee number 1 and has come with us on the business, but so critical to what we do on a daily basis. So we invest in that, but we've then kept we've got a general manager at every site. So I'm not trying to cheat or save my way to what we do. I do want to have a controlled business, a consistent business, a business that delights, whether that be the customers or the manufacturer or even the teams. Teams spend so much time at work. I want them to be doing it in the right way. And yet, do I still work hard? Yeah, I do. Am I in and around every business? Yes, I am, because I want it to feel like my business. And then I've got our directors aren't traditional directors sitting in a head office. They get out. James, Richard are out and about, and that's how you get the difference to the culture. And with that culture, we will be a better business.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
I think we shall leave it there. But thanks ever so much for joining us, John. I appreciate you taking time out of what is an increasingly busy business.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Please do subscribe to the YouTube channel with Armchair Marketing to follow us, or head to the AM website to do so also. We'll be back every month with news, insight and further interviews from the automotive sector.